Welcome to Financial Revelations. I am your host, David Safransky. I suppose you have probably missed me because it's been a couple of weeks since we did our last video. Scheduling as it is, summer rolling around as it has, just made things a little bit tenuous scheduling wise. So here we are, and I want to take today to answer a few listener questions because it's like a jukebox. I answer one question, but I've probably received it 20 times, and that's where a jukebox makes its money. 25 people play the same song, and it plays it once. So here we go. Here's the jukebox. My first question from Don is, will the Biden infrastructure plan lead to free electricity? One of the things about the Biden infrastructure plan that they're trying to pass, it hasn't passed yet, they're still negotiating. Negotiations have fallen apart between the two, between the Republicans and the Democrats. So we don't know what's going to happen yet. But if it were passed the way it is right now, there would be a lot of money allocated towards electric vehicles and electrifying our transportation system. The truth of the matter is our current grid can support only about 5% of all people who driving EVs. And so you have to build it out. There's just no two ways about it. If you drive a Tesla or any EV right now, more than it's charged will allow you're going to have to stop and charge this thing someplace. So most of the EVs out there will map your route so that you can stop and recharge. Now, I've often said if I had to stop and recharge my battery for an hour every time it was out, I would probably weigh 500 pounds because I'd stop and eat every time. So it's not really a good option for me, but it's not going to lead to free electricity. In fact, it's quite the contrary. It's going to lead to more expensive electricity. It's going to be less available in general because the administration right now is doing away with natural gas. They're starting the process to stop people from drilling. They've already shut down new gas leases in Anwar. And as leases come up on federal property, they're probably not going to renew them. There's no nuclear power. If you were going to electrify, nuclear power is the way to do it. Aside from the waste that comes from the spent fuel rods, it is the cleanest way and the most powerful way to generate electricity. However, environmentally, the waste is problematic. You know, where do you store it? How do you move it? It's just that's a little bit problematic. A lot of the spent fuel rods are currently housed on site. Well, that's not a great long-term strategy. There was a facility built in Arizona, 2 miles deep, lined with lead and glass. It's never going to open. And of course, we know that oil production, even though we are the number one producer of oil in the world, the Biden administration has already stopped the Keystone Pipeline. So there's really very little likelihood that another pipeline is going to get developed. It is the easiest way, the most efficient way to move product is a pipeline, and we stopped the Keystone Pipeline on day one of the administration. So oil it's going to just cost more. And what happens is there's going to be an allocation of resources, and it's going to be done by price. So in essence, the wealthy people will have way more than enough electricity. The less means you have, the less money you have, you're going to have to make economic decisions. Do I air condition my house, or do I put up with 85-degree heat? Because it's just going to be that expensive. It is, in my opinion, a massive setup for higher taxes and costs in the future. And one thing that we know right now about this infrastructure plan is that the Democrats are just intent on raising taxes to pay for it. Even if you show them a way to pay for a lot of it without raising taxes, they're not interested. So I do think that they're trying to change the tax regime in America to make us a higher taxed place to live. A lot like Europe. The other thing that they're doing right now that's going to raise taxes is they're trying to get the biggest countries the biggest developed countries to go along with the 15% minimum corporate tax. And that means even if you have write-offs, even if you have credits and things to write against your income, you're going to pay 15% income tax. They need this. They need the other countries to go along with this. Otherwise, if, for instance, England didn't, and we did start taxing people at a minimum of 15%, businesses are going to move to England. So if I were one of these other countries, I would play along. This is a great idea, President Biden, a great idea. And the minute it's enacted, I would cut my tax rate. And what you're going to do is attract humongous companies from all of these other countries, and they're going to come to you because tax or businesses and capital are going to seek the least restrictive environment, wherever that is. And it doesn't matter if it's the Isle of Man or France. Yes, even companies would move to France, knowing what they know, if it were cheaper to do business there. So I think what we see in this administration is a sea change. They want to make us a higher tax nation. They're trying to align us with Europe in a lot of ways. We need to fight this with everything we have because it's very difficult to unwind a lot of these things for the next administration. And even though the next administration might not have to raise taxes, somewhere down the line, maybe not the next one, but the one after that, they're going to come back to us and say, look, we don't have enough money to invest in building America because we're paying so much in debt. We have to raise taxes. That's the setup. It might not happen right away, but it is going to happen. My next question is for a 529 plan to be used for this person's own college education in 2 years. Is there a benefit? The benefit to 529 plan is longevity because you get tax deferred growth and it comes out tax free if it's used for a qualified education expense, which does not have to be college. It could be trade school. It could be a lot of different things. So in this case, I would have to say that is not the best allocation of resources to contribute to a 529 plan for 2 years and then use it for your own college. I'd probably just keep the money in my savings or checking account. You can, in some states, you can buy prepaid tuition credits. I might consider that because we do know this. College education rises about 8% a year. And if you could buy a prepaid tuition credit right now and you're going to school in 2 years, realistically, you could save about 16% on your education. So a prepaid tuition credit, if available in your state, could be a better option for that. Now, I want you to remember that you can follow us on just about any place you can get a podcast. And we have a Twitter account now set up for the podcast, and it's at Financial Revel, REVEL 1. And it's going to be on the screen right here. Josh is going to put it up for us. And what I want to do is about every third or fourth podcast, I just want to take it and answer questions because we are getting a lot of questions from people, so we want to address those things. It's one thing to sit here and talk about theory and how we should invest and what we should do, but I would really like to get a little bit more granular than that. And when people are watching and they have a question, I want to answer those things to the best of our ability. So if somebody said, well, what should I invest in right now? I'm 55 years old. That's a little bit more difficult because we do need more information. But about the 529 plan, that was a great one to answer. Very easy question to answer and a good question to have because I know as people prepare for college, whether it's their education or a child's, these are very, very large expenses. So we want to get it right. We want to be as efficient as we possibly can. We have a responsibility with our money. And that's one thing that I think when we're young and maybe we're just starting out and you don't have a lot of resources and you think, gosh, if I just had $1 million, this would be so easy. And then you get some money later on and you realize, wow, this is a big responsibility. We want to do it right. We want to honor the Lord with our resources, with our first fruits. We want to be able to do all these things. I love when there's a need that we can meet because we have set aside resources for it. And that's being kind of the hands and feet of God. Somebody in your church is having a tough time. And if you planned your finances right, in a lot of cases, you'll be able to help meet that need. Maybe you're not going to meet it all on your own, but if the people of our churches are handling their finances correctly, we can meet those needs together. And that's important. So I love when we're able to do that. I love when I see that happen. And if you want to know if you have money in perspective, give some away, see how it affects you. If it just gnaws at you, hurts you, you feel like you lost something, we need to go back to square one a little bit. If you could give it away joyfully and realize that God allowed you to help meet someone's need, then I think you're probably on the right path. You can always email questions to us. It's joshua@epsf.com. And it'll be up here right above my head. And follow us on Twitter @FinancialRevel1. And you can ask us questions. You could submit suggestions there. You could do all that. Anything you want. We're going to read it. We read every email that comes in. Sometimes we print them off and crumple them up and throw them away. But we do read them, so I want you to know that. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Financial Revelations. I am David Safransky. Have a great start to your summer.